Welcome to another Sirius XM Fishbowl session on Bluegrass Junction. I'm Joey Black, and with us, one of today's newest members of the professional bluegrass family, seeing the world from the festival stages, from the stage of the Station Inn, the sacred circle of the Grand Ole Opry even. Wyatt Ellis is here with his mandolin, joined by his friend, and now I hope to say my friend as well, amazing multi-instrumentalist, two-time IBMA Dobro Player of the Year. I mean, literally, who has a resume that reads like a Hall of Fame list. Justin Moses. We've got a lot to talk about, gentlemen. Thank you so much for being here. But I'd like you to warm up these microphones for me first. You're sitting there with these amazing instruments. What have you prepared to play for us first?
So the first song we're going to play for you is actually a song that I wrote with Sierra Hull, and this was the first single that we released from my album, Happy Valley, and it's called Grassy Cove.
Direct from our Sirius XM Fishbowl studio in New York City. Wyatt Ellis, Justin Moses. I'm Joey Black. Man, that was great. Grassy Cove was the first tune. Now, your album is called Happy Valley,
It
right?
is.
Full album, out and available, CD, digital, vinyl release, awesome. The packaging on this vinyl is beautiful.
Thank
by
you.
the way. Well, thank you. But it seems like a lot of songs on this record have geographical representations to them. This is Grassy Cove. Did it get titled from a specific place?
Yeah, so Bill Monroe used to name a lot of his songs after geographical places, you know, and I figured that was a good place to start with naming some of my first tunes. And Grassy Cove was actually a really beautiful spot near Crossville, Tennessee, and I thought that would be a great name for this tune.
Anything special about Grassy Cove that you go hiking there, or is it like a place you play football with the kids,
well,
or what's it like?
Yeah, so it's near where my family grew up, actually. So, you know, I've always drove through it as a kid.
Nice, kind of like Rosine, right? Or what was the Roanoke? No, what was the one that Jerusalem Ridge? That's the one.
Yeah.
Bill used to pass Jerusalem Ridge all the time into the city, right? So it's called that one. Excellent, Justin. Sierra co-wrote that one with Wyatt. I'll introduce you to her sometime. She's pretty nice.
I've heard she's a good mandolin player.
Pretty good mandolin player, right? Pretty good. How did you get in touch with Sierra to become partners in writing this song, Wyatt?
That was through the Tennessee Folk Life program. They paired us up to work for about 8 months, and that's how I met Justin as well.
And then it just a friendship, would you say a friendship formed through that? It wasn't just professional, you guys became friends? And
yeah, definitely. And, you know, we reached out to Justin after that kind of got going and talked about doing an album, and here we are now. So it's pretty cool.
So I feel like I've talked to a lot of bluegrass artists that obviously went through the pandemic, and we kind of have similar stories. They all have similar kind of things that they did. They got to spend time at home, which they never get to do because they're out on the road all the time and do different things. I feel like your story is extremely unique because you were just getting into a bluegrass scene right at that. So how old are you now? You're 14?
I'm 14.
Okay, so you're 14. So when did you first get your hands on a mandolin?
I first started playing mandolin when I had just turned 10 years old.
10 years old.
That's when I got my first mandolin.
And then you started playing, at jam sessions? Or did you know pickers already, or how did you get in the scene?
A little bit. About 6 months after I started playing, I played with the first people, that I'd ever played with, and that made me want to take it a little bit more seriously, and I got into it more and more and listened to more Bill Monroe, and, it's kind of how it started.
And then the world shut down.
It did.
So it's not like you were going to your local jams or getting together face to face. How did you continue your progress or keep your interest?
Well, I connected with people online, just like I talked about earlier with the apprenticeship with Sierra. We did most of that over Zoom, and I connected with so many other great players, and they're all on my album. We co-wrote tunes. It's just really special.
That is really special. And I want to talk a lot more about your record, too, because I love the original nature of it, especially in a music where, traditions and imitation is sometimes, sought after, right? You want to hear those Bill Monroe licks. You want to hear that high lonesome voice and stuff. But Bill himself also said you've got to make a music your own.
Yeah. Right?
So the original nature of our music, and now your music too that you're offering, is really interesting, and I want to talk more about that. But you guys sound so great. Can we hear another song?
Yeah, you want to do Johnson Mountain Blues? This is a tune that I wrote inspired by David McLaughlin of the Johnson Mountain Boys.
Right on.
And this one's a really cool one that, I figured that he would sound really good playing, and we're going to play it right now. It's Johnson Mountain Blues.
Wyatt Ellis, Justin Moses, direct from our Sirius XM Fishbowl studio here in New York City, high above Rockefeller Center. This is so great to have you here, gentlemen. Thank you so much for coming all this way.
Yeah, we're glad to be here.
So Johnson Mountain Blues. So on a record, Happy Valley, the name of Wyatt's new album, on a record that's full of song titles that have actual locations, Johnson Mountains, not an actual location. Don't put that in your GPS. There is no Johnson Mountains, right? They wanted to be called the Johnson Boys, and then there was a folk group called the Johnson Boys, so they called themselves the Johnson Mountain Boys.
Yeah.
So here we are. Wyatt, you've got some great videos for your songs, man. Who's making these videos for you? And like they're awesome, visually stunning.
Yeah, so all the videos that we've done so far have actually been done by Johnny Cash's grandson, Joseph Cash, and he does a really great job and has a really good mind for all of that stuff.
So there's Happy Valley. What other videos you have?
Happy Valley, Grassy Cove, I think are the only two so far.
And was there Get Lost? Did they do one for Get Lost? I don't know if that was an official one.
Well, I don't think it. We did a little bit of a video for it, but it wasn't like a high production video.
Right on.
Yeah.
Still great. How did you get hooked up with Joseph?
Yeah, so I actually went over there to produce and help record Marty's solo on Blue Smoke, Marty Stewart's solo on Blue Smoke. And Joseph was there, and it was actually Cash Cabin, Johnny's old place, and Joseph was just hanging around, helping with the studio, and we got to talking and playing some old instruments, and next thing you know, we're making some videos.
Did you pull up to the cabin thinking that these things were going to happen, or like what's going through your mind at this point?
I hadn't even processed it at that time. I just knew it was pretty cool. We were going to record there, and special things happen from that.
So Marty Stewart, one of the great names that are on this album with you. Tell me about meeting Marty.
Meeting Marty was just a dream of mine because he was a hero of mine ever since I started, actually. And, just the first time I met Marty was actually at his late night jam at the Ryman. And I got to meet him after the show and get something signed by him, and that was pretty awesome. And soon after that, I actually sent him a letter asking if he would play the solo on Blue Smoke.
And he accepted, obviously.
Yeah.
That's cool. Marty's such a great guy. Like, getting to talk to Marty, he looks like he talks to you like you're the most important person in the world to him at that moment. And this is like legendary, royalty. Played with Lester Flatt, played with Charlie Daniels, Johnny Cash, all this. And he's just such a great guy, and his band, the Fabulous Superlatives, so good too, man. Who else did you? Okay, so you asked Marty to play on this record with you. Was who you reached out to all these people? Did everyone you ask say yes to play?
So most of the people that are on the record, actually, I connected with them through the pandemic online, and we co-wrote the tunes, and it was just kind of something we had to do in a way.
It was sort of like a perfect means to the end, or it was like it was serendipitous to come through all that. So pre-COVID, or maybe we should say pre-pro bluegrass, right? Because you are a professional bluegrass musician. Now, pre-pro bluegrass, what took up your time? I mean, did you do Boy Scouts? Do you still do Boy Scouts? Do you play sports, skateboarding, BMX? What took up your time then?
I just did a little bit of everything. Before I started playing music. I always loved music, but I was doing sports and everything in between.
And now full-time music. What's schooling like? Are you still full-time in school?
Yeah, I do an online school nowadays, and I can kind of take it with me.
Nice. And taking it with you are here in New York City.
Yep.
Wyatt Ellis, Justin Moses. Justin, what has it been? I mean, you were there since the inception, right? I guess because
close to it. Sierra kind of started with the program with him, and I guess I would maybe come in and out of the room when they were Zooming every now and again and hear Wyatt play a little bit. But I didn't really know the depth, obviously, of all the things he was doing and all the people he was able to take lessons from during the pandemic through Zoom and everything. And when they approached me about doing this record, again, it's like I didn't even know that you were, that closely associated with all the great players that are on this record. But it was it's fantastic. And I quickly, discovered how much he's taken from each of those players and kind of, working on developing his own thing from
And
it.
you play, I mean, two-time IBMA Dobro Player of the Year. You play mandolin. You came in here with a fiddle case. You play guitar. Do you have a favorite instrument to play, or does it kind of ebb and flow depending on where you are and what mood you're in?
Most people don't ask it that way, but that's perfect because it does ebb and flow, I would say. I don't have one that I can point to that's like, hey, that's my definite favorite. It just depends on the situation I'm in at the time.
And what's inside you that you need to get out at that moment? What instrument you need to extract that?
Yeah.
Right on. And I'd like to extend the invitation for you and Sierra to come here anytime as well. You guys have an amazing... I love watching your videos on YouTube, the performances you both put on together.
I hope to make
amazing.
that happen. That would be a lot of fun to come in and do that as well.
Yeah, well, the invitation is open. Thank you both again so much for hanging here. Wyatt Ellis and Justin Moses, dream team, sitting in this Fishbowl studio with me, Joey Black. All right, let's hear another tune from the record. What do you have prepared next for us?
So I think the next one we were going to do is actually a tune that I co-wrote with Lauren Price, and this one's called Wildwood.
Wyatt Ellis, Justin Moses. That's one called Wildwood from Wyatt's album Happy Valley. I love that exchange at the end that you guys go back and forth on there, that musical conversation.
Yeah.
Even when you guys were sitting here warming up, I heard you having verbal music communications. Play that B part again. Let's play this lick over and over again and stuff like that. Wyatt, do you feel like a lot of that stuff came natural to you hanging out with musicians, like just sort of falling into that musical conversation, both verbally and instrumentally?
Yeah, the instrumental part came first, I think. You know, I've always been one to like to play off of other people. Mm-hmm. And, you know, learning to communicate verbally is a different thing, you know.
Very much. I mean, because there's definitely an age difference, you know what I mean, between a lot of the people that you get to play with, right?
A little bit.
But
there definitely is a musical language
Yeah.
that's its own thing that you have to learn to be able to communicate both just verbally with saying what needs to happen, but also just in the moment with the instrument doing it, you know.
Yeah.
which has a lot to do with being present and being in that moment. Right? And the different situations that you're put in. We were talking about, before we opened up the microphones, we were talking about challenging monitor situations sometimes where you still just, you know, you need to do it because you're there to perform. Your style, I feel like, is coming into its own as well. I mean, you definitely hear, the Bill Monroe influences, and you hear the Bobby Osborne influences. I want to hear from you a little bit about your influences, though. And you had a relationship with Bobby for some time, didn't you?
Yeah, I got to know him quite well for about 2 years. I got to, see him regularly and get to learn all of his tunes and listen to all the cool stories. And, he's just a great guy.
Did he pass along a piece of information or a piece of advice maybe to you?
Yeah.
That you kind of keep right there in your holster that you need to pull out now and again?
One that he said a lot was to go back to, the original recording or where it came from to learn it. Like some of the old fiddle tunes that he liked to play. Go back, like way back to where it was first written.
Yeah, that's smart. You know what I mean? Because even in visual arts and stuff, you go to school to learn, right? Because artists have been using the same oil paint, the same brushes, the same canvases for eons now, but new art is continually created with those same tools, right? So you've got to learn how to use those tools before you can break those rules, right? And you feel like Bobby kind of helped you get along with that.
Definitely.
Yeah. What other influences would you say you draw upon? And it could be outside bluegrass. It could be Steve Vai, guitar player, whatever. I don't know. Like, where do you pull what your licks come from?
Like, a lot of these guys on the album are big influences to me. And I've been studying some other kinds of music and stuff. But, a lot of these guys on the album, like Chris Henry, David McLaughlin, I got to work with them during the pandemic on Skype, which was a big influence for me in Monroe-style mandolin playing.
Would you feel that that's kind of where you lay at first? Like Clapton always goes back to that box lick. You know what I mean? Like there's a classic Clapton lick. Do you feel like you kind of go back to that Bill Monroe and then you sort of ascend from there with what you're doing?
Definitely.
Cool. What's your favorite stage to play? I mean, you've played Station Inn. You've played the Opry stage, standing in that sacred circle. Do you have a favorite? I mean, it could be a dirt bar or it could be a festival stage. Do you have a favorite one that you've played?
I don't even know.
Yeah.
For sure. I always love playing the Opry.
Yeah. There's something super special about that. For sure. How many times has it been now?
I've played it twice on my own and a few times with Daly and Vincent.
Daly and Vincent. I know those guys. That's a name. That's an okay name to be associated with as well.
Yeah.
So, as an amazing, I talked earlier about your songwriting and how I appreciate this record as a body of work of original material. Was it important to you for it to be represented as original?
It was. Nobody is really putting out entire, original mandolin albums anymore. And, it's something that Bill Monroe used to do a lot, and I think it's important to keep writing the music. Marty Stewart actually said that, he was glad that somebody was actually, doing some new mandolin music.
Marty's amazing. I love that you have a connection with him. We had a great conversation with Marty on Chris Hillman's burrito stand, who, Chris absolutely loves Marty for his mandolin playing. There's also Chris is a great mandolin player, and I've talked to him about you as well. By the way, you should know Chris Hillman's a fan of yours as well.
Awesome.
So yeah, amongst playing the Opry and these different things, what would you say is the most normal 14-year-old kid thing that you do?
I don't even know. I just like to be outdoors a lot for sure.
Okay.
Yeah.
Like hiking kind of outdoors and stuff.
Yeah.
Right. Sports kind of stopped because
it did.
You play basketball, you jam a finger, you're not playing now for a couple of weeks.
Yeah.
Right. So that sort of puts a.
I did shut my finger in a car door last month, but I was back playing in a couple of days.
Wow, that could have been disastrous. So you have some family ties to New York City as well, right? Like,
I do.
Where did your how's your family tied to up here in New York?
Yeah, so I think my either great-great-grandpa or great-great-great-grandpa came to New York as an orphan when he was 14 years old from Ireland.
Wow.
And, they were here for several generations, and then they moved to Tennessee.
Right on. Well, that's good because you have both ends of the spectrum there, right? You have the New York City go-getting attitude, and you have that Tennessee music spirit in you. Well, this has been awesome. Thank you so much for coming. Wyatt Ellis, his album Happy Valley really has an all-star cast of pickers on here, available on vinyl, on CD, digitally as well. Justin Moses, it's really great getting to meet you two face to face. It's been a while. It's been a long time since I've been playing your music, and it's great to finally have you come up here.
So great to meet you, and as you said earlier, we can count each other friends now.
Right on. Flew in you flew in yesterday or this morning from Italy to make this happen?
Yeah, like last night. I got in. Yeah, I've been over in Europe for about a month. I was touring with Bela Fleck, and we played in a bunch of countries over that period of time, and it was a lot of fun. I had a great time over there, and glad to be back, though. It's nice to be back in the U.S.
Had I known you were coming from Italy, though, I'd asked you to bring some cannolis.
Yes. Well, you never know what's in that backpack over there.
Oh, hey. Yes, I do.
Yeah. Not that, yeah.
Right. Oh, man, this has been great. Thank you so much. So tell me, you guys have one last song prepared for us. What song will that be?
So we're actually going to finish with a song that I wrote with, I actually wrote the song. I almost said I wrote it
myself.
with. Yeah, this is one that I wrote with myself, and I actually wrote this sitting on the couch looking at the Great Smoky Mountains, and this is the one that Marty Stewart plays on, and I entitled it Blue Smoke. 1,